Should you buy a 2018 LG OLED TV such as the C8, or is a 2017 model good enough? Let's find out. Hello everyone, my name is Vincent Teo and I'm a TV reviewer and professional calibrator. In this video, I'm going to compare the picture quality of an LG 2018 OLED, namely this 77-inch C8 against a 2017 LG OLED, the 65-inch B7, so you can decide for yourself whether it's worth paying more for the newer model. First, some housekeeping. 1. Both TVs have been calibrated using reference-grade equipment to the standards used within the film and broadcast industry for both SDR and HDR, and then fed the same content from a single video source distributed using a HDMI splitter. I go to extra lengths to make sure that it's a level playing field. If you are seeing some differences in colors, it is because of panel gamma variation and viewing angle. Yes, WRGB OLEDs do exhibit a color shift of axis, however slight. 2. The camera I'm using to film this video has a limited dynamic range, but these are HDR televisions, so sometimes I have to lower the camera exposure to show all the specular highlight detail, causing the picture to look too dark and shadow detail to disappear. Also, to capture some very dark detail, sometimes I have to increase the camera ISO, which introduces noise to the video. In such cases, I will try to caption the footage to explain what I've done, but more importantly, please remember that these video clips do not fully represent what I'm actually seeing in real life, so please listen to my commentary and don't judge the picture quality solely from these video clips alone. Now, in an ideal world, I would be comparing the same screen size, a 65-inch C8 versus a 65-inch B7. But I'm not made of money, so I'm just happy to be able to have a 2018 and a 2017 LG OLED in the same room at the same time for this comparison to be made possible, even though the different screen sizes means that assessment of upscaling quality will be difficult. Before we move on to the proper comparison, I'd like to take some time to thank Richer Sounds Manchester for sponsoring this video. They have a bunch of knowledgeable and helpful team over there, and from time to time they loan me televisions to review and compare, TVs that manufacturers otherwise are not willing to send to me for whatever reason. So if you are thinking about buying a new TV, even if it's not this C8 or the B7, please support this channel by giving them a call on 0333 900 0086. Say that you've heard about them from HDTV Test, and they'll take care of you with great price and service. Thanks in advance for your support. Much has been made of the new Alpha 9 processor on LG's 2018 OLED TVs, which is designed to deliver improvements in noise reduction, sharpness enhancement, and color mapping. With both TVs calibrated and all unnecessary picture processing turned off, we can confirm that the above black handling looked slightly cleaner on the C8. For example, in this heavily compressed broadcast of Father Brown episode on ITV, the macro blocking and pixelations looked smaller in size and less obvious on the C8 compared with the B7. You can also activate the Alpha 9's decontouring filter by enabling MPEG noise reduction, which will reduce this near black polarization even more. But bear in mind that because MPEG noise reduction also applies spatial noise reduction, some fine detail will inevitably be erased, so it's your call whether to use it or not. On the B7, engaging MPEG noise reduction did not reduce polarization to any noticeable degree. Here are some more examples of the bending removal function of MPEG noise reduction. First is from the opening in every episode of Planet Earth 2 on 4K Blu-ray. Note that the near black PQ-EOTF tracking on the B7 is not as good as on the C8, which explains the slightly shallower blacks on the B7. I'll touch on this more later when I talk about HDR. Another example is from The Martian. Engaging MPEG noise reduction clearly reduced the polarization in the sky, even though it also deleted some fine detail from Matt Damon's face. After LG improved the motion performance on its 2017 OLED TVs with a firmware update last year, I didn't really see any difference between the LG C8 and the B7 in terms of 24p motion handling and frame interpolation algorithm. With true motion off, slow panning shots in 24 frames per second movies, such as this one from Wall-E, looked identical on both TVs without any sign of telecinic judder. My policy is, if I'm struggling to see any difference after 2 repeat viewings, then even if there's a difference, it's not significant enough to affect my viewing experience. The same applies to frame interpolation. Once I matched the true motion settings on both TVs, either using one of the true motion presets or matching the dejudder and deblur values, then to my eyes, I'm seeing similar amount of interpolation artifacts on our own custom authored test pattern. The key improvement in terms of motion on the C8 versus the 2017 LG OLEDs, such as the B7 or C7, is the addition of black frame insertion or BFI. It works well to improve motion clarity, but due to how black frame insertion works, the picture will look darker, although you can increase OLED light to compensate. Also, some flicker will be visible in brighter areas, for example, the sky in this shot from a live tennis broadcast. LG's BFI implementation still adds a small dose of interpolation, except in game mode, and operates at 60 Hz for 24p film, so some telecinic judder would be visible. Even for a big fan of black frame insertion like myself, I found the BFI on last year's Panasonic and Sony OLED TVs to be not very usable, and the same holds true for the LG C8 too, except maybe for playing 60 frames per second games in game mode. Talking about games, both TVs have the same low input lag of 21 milliseconds in game mode, but one big upgrade on the C8 is the provision of dynamic tone mapping in HDR game mode. Now, because dynamic tone mapping works by analyzing the incoming video histogram, sometimes, depending on the particular scene and the game's HDR10 metadata, engaging dynamic tone mapping may not produce any significant difference visually. But in Assassin's Creed Origins in 4K HDR on the Xbox One X, you can see that dynamic tone mapping brightened the overall picture, including shadow detail, therefore delivering more HDR impact. Now, of course, you may ask, Vincent, doesn't dynamic contrast low activate dynamic tone mapping on the LG B7 too? Unfortunately not in HDR game mode. I know this is not a game, but I'm using this scene from the Ultra HD Blu-ray of Pan to illustrate my point here. On the LG C8, in game mode, you can see that once dynamic tone mapping is switched on, it restores the specular highlight detail in the sun and the surrounding clouds. But on the B7, engaging dynamic contrast does nothing to bring back the bright specular highlights, meaning that dynamic tone mapping is not available in HDR game mode on the 2017 LG OLED TVs. Now, one of the side effects of LG's dynamic tone mapping algorithm on the company's 2017 OLEDs is that it can wrongly boost the brightness in dark scenes, which not only elevates the black level, but also brings out unwanted noise and compression artifacts near black. The LG C8 tracks the PQ-EOTF curve better near black, giving the image an inkier black floor, so enabling dynamic tone mapping didn't create as much adverse effects as it did on the B7. Other supposed improvements on the 2018 LG OLEDs are logo luminance adjustment and 3D LUT auto-calibration, but at this moment when I filmed this video in May 2018, I'm not keen on either feature. I found that logo luminance adjustment, even on the low setting, occasionally affects non-logo elements on screen too, and there's no evidence of this function reducing the risk of permanent burn-in anyway. As for the 3D LUT auto-calibration feature, again, I've explained in my C8 review why I won't be using it to calibrate for home customers. There's no way to back up the calibrated LUTs. It takes too long if I want to surpass the accuracy of my own manual calibration, and it introduces more polarization, however slight. Just like on the B7, I can achieve excellent SDR color accuracy on the C8 by calibrating manually, resulting in supremely realistic colors, including for skin tones. Our 77C8 review sample uses the same subpixel structure as the B7, and I observed no difference in near black uniformity and ABL behavior. Perhaps the 55-inch and 65-inch C8, which use the new subpixel structure, may be different, but until I can perform in-depth testing on these smaller models, I cannot say for sure. So, should you buy the LG C8 or last year's model like the LG C7 or B7? In my opinion, you should strongly consider going for the C8 if 4K HDR games are important to you. The 2018 LG OLEDs feature dynamic tone mapping in HDR game mode, so games that are mastered to 4000 or even 10,000 nits won't look too dim. Furthermore, the availability of black print insertion in game mode can boost motion clarity for 60 frames per second games, provided you can tolerate the flicker. Otherwise, the C8 offers some slight improvements in near black noise suppression and PQ EOTF tracking, but the 2017 LG OLEDs are already excellent televisions, and personally, I think there's a bigger jump in picture quality going from 2016 to 2017 than from 2017 to 2018. If you found this video useful, please click the like button and subscribe to the HDTV Test YouTube channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.